Hello, Dauphin families and staff. This is Rob Schultz, Superintendent of Schools. It is Thursday, September 24th, and it is our 17th school day of the 2020-21 school year. And I want to give you an update on several important topics. So I'm going to share my screen with you. The topics that I'd like to discuss with you and share with you is our hybrid model of instruction and the percentage of students that are participating in each of those options that we've provided as a school district. I want to talk to you a little bit about the positive cases that we've had in the district since the week of August 24th and how we've handled those cases and the decisions that we've made on continuing our school operations and what are our next steps. You know, we're 4 weeks in. What's going to be our decision-making model to look at, do we continue in a hybrid model or do we look at transitioning to a different model of instruction? And I'm going to provide you with the key things that we're going to look at as a district in making that decision. So let's start with the hybrid model of instruction and the services that the school district can provide. And I want to start with our students because that's what it's all about. Our students are doing a great job. The students are wearing their face coverings. They're following our traffic patterns in the hallway. They're doing everything we've been asking them to do to make our schools a safe place to be. And we have about 42% of our students in school on any given school day, Monday through Thursday. And the other 42% are either Zooming in or learning asynchronously. And there's about 17% of our students who aren't coming into school at all right now. They've either chosen a synchronous model or asynchronous model, Kaola, or at the elementary, our e-learning option. And we've tried to provide as many different opportunities for students based on their needs for them to receive their education as we work through this school year. So again, thank you students for everything you've done. We can't ask more of you right now. Parents, we appreciate your support and your communication, and we want that communication to continue. If there's things that you need us to know, whether it's the teachers, whether it's the principals, or whether it's me, please reach out. We are talking with our teachers from the first in-service day this summer. We said there's 4 things we need to do, and we need to do well. We need to be safe, which is number 1. We need to communicate, which is number 2. The third thing we need to do is we need to support each other. We need to make sure that things are in place to make this as successful as possible given the conditions we're under. And the fourth thing is we need to be flexible. We know this is unlike any other school year we've had, so we need to make sure that as we move forward, we're providing flexibility for everyone. I've told the teachers that you as parents want to partner with them. You want to make sure that while you're at work and your child may be learning at home 3 days a week, that you're their partner and that communication back and forth to make sure that we get the right level of work for your child is something that we can do together. So please reach out, please communicate, and we'll work as we move forward to try and find that specific level of work that works best for your child given your situation at home. Staff. The staff is doing a fantastic job. They're working extremely hard. I appreciate it. For the first time, they're working with students in a face-to-face environment as well as in an online environment, which is not easy. And they're doing it. We want to make sure that we're providing that structure, which is one of the things that the parents told us we were missing in the spring when we were fully online, that, you know, having students online while you have students in the classroom with you is providing the structure that we didn't have from March to June last year. We heard you that you wanted consistency with our LMS, our learning management system. So we redid our Canvas front page and we are trying to make it allow the students to focus on the work rather than finding and understanding what work needs to be done. So to do all those things, I want to give a big thank you to all the people who helped with our professional development that first week prior to the students coming in, especially our instructional technology coaches who did a fantastic job and put in many, many hours and our teachers who are really learning to teach a new way. Our technology department, literally putting in a lot of overtime to help troubleshoot and make sure that we have what you need to connect to not only the Zoom lessons, but also to our learning management system. We are using many outdated machines. We are not unlike many school districts in Pennsylvania and across the country that have computers on back order from an order we put in the early summer. So as soon as those computers get here, we'll get those in people's hands and hopefully be able to get some of our more outdated computers out of service. The principals, please, parents, again, and staff, if you need things, make sure you're communicating with your building principals. Again, one of our 4 areas that we're focusing on is that safety, communication, and support and flexibility. So our principals are here to support you and are a good avenue for communication if you need things. Reasons to stay open. Reasons to stay in the hybrid model is there's several reasons. One is face-to-face instruction on a regular schedule. Yes, we know there's less days in a hybrid model that students are in school, but we know when they're going to be in school, and we can plan for those and make those as meaningful as possible. If we were in a full return, that there's at least 2 of the situations we've had with positive cases that we would have had closed down school for an extended period of time for either classrooms or buildings. And we wouldn't have been able to provide the mental health services that we can in the hybrid model if we're shut down, school nurses, food services, and extra and co-curricular activities. So we want to keep our schools open. And being in the hybrid model, based on the experience of the first 4 weeks with the number of cases we've had, it's allowed us to do that. Excuse me. Let's talk about the positive cases that we have had. We've had 6 individuals test positive for COVID-19 since the week of August 24th. I identify the positive case as an individual. We don't want to even tell you that it's a student or staff because that really isn't important. It means that someone who either works at the building or attends school at the building tested positive. It doesn't mean that they tested positive and were infectious while they were in the building. It just means that someone who goes there for either work or school at some point tested positive since the beginning of the school year. And we're going to do everything we can to protect that personally identifiable information. And we're going to work with the Department of Health on contact tracing. And I do that with the Department of Health, and we look at who were the close contacts to the individual who tested positive, and then we notify those people who are close contacts. And the one thing that's been very fortunate for us is we have a very, very low number of people who were considered close contacts based on our hybrid model. We were able to social distance, which is very, very helpful in the spread of this, of COVID-19. Once we have all the close contacts identified and notified, then I send out an email to the building saying you have had someone, whether an individual in the building, test positive for COVID-19. And after the staff has been notified via email, within an hour, we update the district webpage. Now, one of the things that we found in moving through this is that we were putting the notification in our headlines. And as more headlines came out, the notification would move down the list and be more difficult to find. And we want to be as transparent as possible. So we want to make sure you have accurate information regarding the cases that are in the schools. So we came up with a dashboard. And this dashboard, as you'll see, there's a link here in the presentation, and it's on our district webpage. And this is the actual dashboard as of today, September 24th. And you can see the date the district was notified of the positive test result, the building the individual either works in or attends, the number of individuals that tested positive on that date in that building, and then the district total. And as you can see, we're up to 6. So a positive case is someone who tests positive. A close contact is a person who was within 6 feet for 15 minutes of a person who is positive. So please don't stand or sit with anyone within 6 feet for 15 minutes or more. We've set our schools up that in every elementary classroom, we can social distance. In most of our secondary classrooms at the middle school and high school, we can social distance. So please don't put yourself in a position that you are next to someone who may turn up to be positive, that you then are a close contact and have to quarantine. So again, within the 6 cases we've had, we have not had to shut down a building, and the Department of Health has not had to require many people at all to quarantine. In my last video in August, I showed you a matrix that was produced 2 weeks before the school year started by the Department of Health and Department of Education. And it had in the left-hand column the level of community transmission, and it had 3 levels: low, moderate, or substantial. And across the top of the matrix, it had the number of cases, either 1 in the first column, 2 to 4 in the second column, or 5 in the third column. And as you went through those 9 boxes underneath those headings on each side, it said that you may have to shut down for 5 to 7 days, 3 to 5 days, depending on the level of community transmission and the number of cases. In my practical experience with going through contact tracing with the Department of Health, due to the low number of close contacts based on our hybrid model, we have not had to shut buildings down. The Department of Health is not recommending, as it is in some other districts, that we shut buildings down, which is wonderful because we can continue to provide face-to-face instruction, even though it's limited in the number of days, mental health services, food services, and co-curricular and extracurricular activities. So there are a lot of positives for us in staying open, even if it is in a hybrid model. So the matrix that they produced for the Department of Health and Department of Education produced was to fit all kinds of models of instruction, including full returns. And I don't believe that is going to apply to what we're doing here at Lower Dauphin in this hybrid approach and the ability for us in the hybrid to social distance. Now that may change based on the number of cases and the number of close contacts, but I'm very optimistic that we will be able to stay open. And there's some research that I'm going to share with you that is going to explain a little bit more about why I'm optimistic. So what are our next steps? Are we transitioning to a different model of instruction? And if so, when? We're going to follow the research. And the research that we used to help make our decision on what kind of model to start the school year with was based on a study by REL Mid-Atlantic, and the title of that study was Considerations for Reopening Pennsylvania Schools. And it showed us that there is, and we're finding it to be true, a decrease in the transmission of the virus in the school in the hybrid model. A second study was produced by REL Mid-Atlantic, Operating Schools in a Pandemic, Predicted Effects of Opening, Quarantining, and Closing Strategies. This was published September 16th of this year. So that study, the second one that came out on September 16th, uses simulations with an agent-based computational model, and the findings are very positive. The work also refined the June study and also used emerging evidence that has been extended to incorporate the effects of quarantines and temporary school shutdowns in response to COVID-19 cases in the school community. The report contains the findings of approximately 400,000 simulations conducted predicting the spread of infection for hundreds of combinations of local circumstances and school operating strategies. So they did all these simulations based on a full return, fully online, blended, hybrid, all the different models that are being implemented by different districts across the state. Schools cannot control the infections that occur outside of school. Their aim in mitigation strategies is to reduce the number of additional infections produced by their own operations, infections that occur in school or on the school bus. The results powerfully demonstrate the importance of precautions and the additional mitigation produced by part-time hybrid strategies. According to the study, hybrid operating approaches dramatically reduce the total number of likely infections in the school. Simulation results suggest that under a hybrid approach with precautions, including wearing face coverings, eliminating additional mixing of students, and putting 6 feet of distance between desks, which we're able to do in most classrooms, most infections coming from the outside of school will produce 0 additional infections in the school. If all students are coming to school daily, temporary closing the building every time an infection is detected modestly reduces the number of infections. So again, in a full return, temporary closures are far less effective in reducing the spread than using a hybrid operating strategy from the start, which we did. And closing disrupts school schedules unpredictably. So this second paragraph is speaking to a full return, which is going to mean you're going to have to close down and there'll be less instructional days, similar to a hybrid, but they'll be more unpredictable and less safe for students and staff. The simulation results suggest that a temporary school-wide closure should rarely be needed to reduce infections in schools operating in a hybrid mode. Under part-time hybrid operating strategies, students come to school far fewer days by design and are not likely to need to shut down since their infections remain low with quarantine of close contacts. So again, that original matrix that I showed you from PDE in my last video, in practical application of it with the Department of Health and with this research is showing to be true that we should be able to stay open unless we have really some unique cases, positive cases. So I'm very happy to hear that and to experience that. And you as the staff and as the families need to understand that that matrix that we were using before in my first video is not coming to fruition as what we would need to do as far as school closures. So what are our next steps? Well, we asked parents to commit to a fully online option at the elementary in our e-learning for the first trimester. So as we move through this first trimester, we are going to follow the plan and we're going to monitor the level of community transmission. And the community transmission for the county is the number of cases per 100,000 people. And I put a link here in this slide to the dashboard for the Department of Health, and you can monitor where we are at in Dauphin County. And this week, the week of September 21st, we are in 42.9 cases per 100,000 people. And that puts us in the moderate range. Now, the good news is that puts us, we're 7 people per 100,000 less this week than we were last week. So at least from the previous week to this week, we're moving in the right direction. The Department of Health and Department of Education for this moderate level are still recommending a blended learning model or fully remote. So we have about 83 to 84% of our students are participating in a blended learning model, the hybrid, and about 17% of our students are participating in a fully remote learning. So we are right in line, again, with the research and with the Department of Health and the Department of Education. A county's corresponding threshold may change week by week as incidence and percent positivity rates rise and fall. In order to confirm stability of a county's transmission when a county's corresponding threshold changes, school entities should wait to see the results from the next 7-day reporting period before considering a change to the instructional models. To ensure the most effective transition for students, it may be appropriate for a school to wait even longer, up to a full marking period, to transition to an instructional model that increases in-person instruction. So where are we now? We're on September 24th. We're 4 weeks in. We're going to monitor that level of community transmission and hope we keep having people be safe in school and outside of school. And that way, the community transmission rate would lower, and it would get us to a point where we can start looking at transitioning back to a full return. But it will be dependent on us watching that level of transmission for Dauphin County. Because again, if we come back too soon to a full return, we're going to end up shutting down, which we would have had to for at least 2 of our 6 cases for an unpredictably and for an unpredictable amount of time. So in the pandemic, students are going to miss school. And we have a way with this hybrid model of controlling when that happens. and we have a way of controlling, keeping students safe and staff safe while they're at school. And that's what we're going to continue to do. And let's keep doing everything we need to do to make sure that the level of transmission in our county goes down. So what do we need to do? We need to all do our part. We need to social distance when you're on the weekends, when you're at home. No carpooling. Don't be hanging out with each other, students. We want to make sure, practice your social distancing just like you do at school, outside of school. Continue to wear your face coverings. Wash your hands frequently. And probably the most important thing next to social distancing is, if you feel sick, stay home. Please stay home. We can either help you learn from home by Zooming in, and we'll work with you. And again, that goes back to an earlier slide. Parents, if you need to communicate that you need either more or less work for your students based on your circumstances, please communicate with your teachers and then with your principals. And then if you need to, call here to the district office and talk to either me or Mr. Newhart or Dr. Winter. So please, if you are sick, students or staff, please stay home. We'll figure out a way to get you to work from home, telework for our staff or students to work from home. If you come to school or a school-sponsored event and you're sick, you put other people at risk of getting sick. So let's all work together. Let's work to get our level of transmission down, and then we can start looking at hopefully transitioning from a hybrid to more of a full return as we move through the school year. I want to thank everybody again for everything they're doing, and I want you to take care.